Hello and welcome to my channel. It is March 16th, that is Tuesday. And today in news and politics, the 2020 interference. That is correct. What am I talking about? China did not interfere in the 2020 election because it didn't think it could benefit from a Trump or Biden presidency, U.S. report says. That's right, man. China did not interfere with our elections. A declassified report released by the Office of Director of National Intelligence on Monday concluded that China did not end up interfering with the 2020 presidential election. While China was on the U.S. intelligence community radar for potential meddling, along with Russia and Iran, the reports found that the superpower sought stability in its relationship with the United States and did not view either election outcome as being advantageous enough for China to risk getting caught meddling. Instead, Beijing settled on a more conventional target economic measure of lobbying as their focus regarding of the winner. China considered meddling according to the report, but stopped short of what Russia and Iran did, is actually pursuing a way to influence the outcome of the favor. They don't say China Biden or Biden Xi for nothing. But however, we got news for you. If you like the coverage, please disable your ad blocker. Absolutely not. CNN called out for hyping Russia election interference to hurt Biden, bearing Iran's role in damaging Trump. China, Venezuela, and Cuba were also listed by the ODNI as foreign actors attempting to influence the election. Can we get something straight here? Can we get something clear here? Election interference is not a thing. And when I mean it's not a thing, I mean every country does it. Mexico does it, Canada does it, United States does it, Britain does it, or the Germany does it, Spain does it. Everybody does it. The Chinese do it. It depends on what you want to call election interference and how they try to persuade a different outcome. Every country does it. Some countries are better at doing it than others. But the fact that every country does it kind of means it's not a real factor into it. I'm kind of curious what they're actually calling election interference. Are they talking about targeting ads on Facebook? I mean, exactly what classifies as election interference? It's kind of like what classifies a terrorist. The definition is so broad it could literally mean anything. But anyways, continue with this Fox News. CNN is being called out for its overwhelmingly slant coverage for the new intel report that outlined foreign interference in the 2020 presidential election. A report of the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, ODNI, was made public on Tuesday determined while there is no evidence of altering ballots or the voting process, it concluded that Russia President Vladimir Putin authorized influence operation aimed at degrading President Biden's presidency in support of the former President Trump re-election. Similar, the ODNI concluded that the Iranian Supreme Leader Kamel authorized to undercut Trump's re-election prospects and to undermine public confidence in the election process and U.S. institutions. I don't know, I think the Supreme Court and the judicial system pretty much did that on their own. The report also indicated that China, Venezuela, Cuba, and the Lebanese Hezbollah also made efforts to influence the election. However, Russia was the only country to make headlines at CNN. Its online report, CNN declared U.S. intelligence report, Russia attempt to interfere with the 2020 election with the goal of instigating Biden and helping Trump. Any mentions of Iran's effort to hurt Trump was buried 11th paragraphs into the report. The anti Trump coverage was mirrored on air as a Chiron similar to read U.S. intel Russia tried to interfere in 2020 election to help Trump. New evidence of collusion or at least cooperation of conjoining aims between Trump's campaign and Russia. My take on the new intelligence report, talking with Brooke Baldwin. Fourth Watch Media critic and former CNN producer Steve Krackler called out the network framing of the story. Wow, they're really doing this. Krackler reacted in the headlines that was shared by CNN anchor Jake Tapper, not to mention in the headlines of framing of the reports finding that Iran's attempts to interfere with the election with the goal of hurting Trump's re-election chances. The report also stated that Iran tried to damage Trump's re-election chances. Hezbollah sought to undermine Trump's Cuba, sought damage to Trump by pushing pro-democratic narratives. Venezuela had the intent to damage Trump. The Daily Wire Riot Outland. Well, they're all reading this, not to mention the headlines or framing of the report finding Iranians attempt to interfere with the 2020 election. But yeah, it's just a lot of repeat. CNN spent much of the past 5 years, hyping the Russia collusion narrative that ultimately fizzled out by the conclusion of the Mueller investigation. In 2020, however, the anti-Trump network spent much of its focus praising the now embattled Democratic New York Governor Andrew Cuomo over his response of the coronavirus pandemic, which included chummy interviews conducted by his brother, Cuomo Prime Time. Another anchor, New York anchor Chris Cuomo, also downgrading the brewing nursing home scandal. Let's keep this in mind. Every country does this. Every country, to some degree, does this. Now, it does not say what exactly that they were doing. By no means. Let's see here. From the top Twitters in the response by Bill Kristol, Russia interference in our election is bad. Iranian interference is bad. Foreign interference is bad. This is why Trump's failure to take Russian interference seriously after the 2016 was so damaging and invited further interference, not just by Russia, but by others on all sides. You got Jake Tapper, U.S. intelligence reports say Russia attempted to interfere with the election with the goal of hurting Biden and helping Trump. With the link to the article, Biana Goldaria, or however you pronounce her name. Well, today's IC reports on Russia efforts to influence the 2020 election in Trump's favor. It's not surprising. A few things worth noting. Putin continues to rely on U.S. social media campaigns to undermine U.S. confidence in the election and increasing the social political division. That's 105. And we got Jason Lepioid. The ODNI released intelligence community assets or assessment on foreign threats of the 2020 election, and it links to their story. But as I mentioned before, can we really call it election interference when everybody does it to some degree? Like I said, I really didn't see the reports of how they influence, but my guess is that they're trying to buy ads to sway the opinions of certain people towards certain candidates, which is something that we could all do as private citizens. Anyways, leave a comment down below what your thoughts are. Smash the like and subscribe button on all platforms. But most importantly, have yourself a wonderful day, morning, or evening.